All right, so today we're talking about proportions. You may be familiar with them. Let me draw up let's talk about the definition of a proportion. Slide it up a little bit. So proportion states that too thick. Tone that in a little bit. So proportion says that two ratios are equal. And remember, a ratio is a fraction. So basically a fraction is set equal to another fraction. So at the end of this topic, you should know how to solve proportions using cross multiplication. If I'm going too fast, make sure you press pause. I tend to go fast. So, how do we solve proportions? Let me erase what I have in the middle. So, how do we solve proportions? So, we solve proportions again by cross multiplying. And this is a diagram. How to cross multiply. Okay, so when we cross multiply, we want to multiply A and D together. So A times D, we want to make it equal B times C. So when you cross multiply, let me make sure I have all this erased first. The reason it's up there is I recorded this video already and it quit on me, so I didn't erase everything I thought I did. But here we go. Alright, so when you cross multiply, and I'm a shorthand, so CM stands for cross multiplying. So cross multiplication is only used when there is an equal sign. Okay, so cross multiplication is only used when there is an equal sign. So let's go ahead and take care of these two problems down here. So this is my A, B, C, and D. And you see how I labeled them the same way they were labeled up here for our example stuff? That way all I have to do is plug in the numbers, okay? So we got A times D. So that's 4 times 84 equals B times C. So 7 times C. So let's do the math. So 4 times 84 gives us 336. And 7 times C gives us 7C. And we should be getting used to seeing this now. So we need to get C by itself. 7 and C is multiplying, so the inverse or the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we divide both sides by 7. That's the division property of equality, meaning we do it on both sides. So 7 divided by 7 cancels out. And I don't know why I put C. I should have put X. I'm sorry. And 336 divided by 7 is 48. So X equals 48. Again, this should have been an X. I think I seen C right here, and that's why I put C. Mistake. See, I'm not perfect either. It's okay to make mistakes in math. Okay, so let's move on to the second problem. Let me draw my A, B, C, and D. Now remember, A is multiplied by D. So we got 9 times 10 equals B and C. So we got 15 times X plus 4. So now we can do the math. So 9 times 10 is 9 equals 15 times X is 15X, and 15 times 4 is 60. So now we got to get 15X by itself, because eventually we want to solve for X. So we got to do the opposite. We got to move this 60. And it's a positive 60, so the inverse of the opposite of 60 is negative 60. So this is the subtraction property of equality, because we're subtracting 60 on both sides. Remember, equality means it's good on both sides. You do it from one side, you got to do it to the other. So 60 minus 60 is 0, so that cancels out. 90 minus 60 is 30. And we bring that 15X down. Now we do the inverse. Now 15X is multiplying, so the inverse of multiplying is division. So we divide both sides by 15. 15 divided by 15 cancels out. And 30 divided by 15 is 2. So X equals 2. So the page we just finished belonged on your right side of your notebook. This page right here goes on your left side of your notebook. Okay, all this needs to be turned in. So here's my A, B, C, and D. So A times D. So we have 3 times 10 equals B times C. So we have 6 times 5X plus 1. And it don't matter what order you put it in. I just like putting my single constant, which is 6, in front of my term. That way I know to distribute. Sometimes you get confused when you put that 6 behind the parentheses. So let's do the math. 3 times 10 is 30. 6 times 5 is 30X. And 6 times 1 is 6. Positive 6. So again, we have to get this 30X by itself, because eventually we need to solve for X. So we got to get rid of this plus 6. So we subtract 6 on both sides. Again, subtraction property of equality. This cancels out because 6 minus 6 equals 0. And we got 30 minus 6 is 24. I want to bring my 30X down. Okay, now we need to get X by itself, so 30 and X are multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. Remember, inverse and opposite means the same thing. So 30 divided by 30 cancels out. That's really 1. We don't put a 1 in front of the X. So we have X equals 24 over 30. And we need to simplify that. So we say, what number can divide into both of these numbers evenly? The largest number that can is 6. So in order to simplify, we want to divide both of them by 6. So we have X equals 24 divided by 6 is 4. And 30 divided by 6 is 5. So our answer is X equals 4 over 5. All right, so let's go down to the next problem. Let's label that A, B, C, and D. So they gave us a negative problem in here, but that's cool. So let's do what we do. So A times D. So let's take that negative with the A. So we have negative 20 times 5 equals, now the 4 isn't negative because we already took this with the 20. So we have 4 times 4 minus x. So now we could do a problem. So negative 20 times 5 is negative 100. Let's distribute. 4 times 4 is 16. And 4 times a negative x gives us a negative 4x. So now we need to get this negative 4x by itself. Eventually we're looking for x. So what we have now is we have a positive 16. Okay, the positive 16 inverse is minus 16. So we got to do that on both sides. These cancel out, leave me with a negative 4x over here equals, now I'm combining these, which means I'm really adding them. I want to keep the sign of both of them, which is negative, and 100 plus 16 is 116. Use your integer cheat sheet to help you on that. So now we need to get x by itself. Okay, so we want to divide both sides by negative 4. So negative 4 divided by negative 4 cancels out. And I have a negative and a negative, so I know my answer is going to turn positive. So 116 divided by 4 equals 29. Let me get out of that. All right, let's try to do one more. So remember, all numbers are over 1. So let's put a 1 up under there. Let's label. And let's do our work. So the first one, A times D, we have 1 times x minus 7. That is a time sign. Equals 5 times 0. So let's do the math. So 1 times x gives me 1x, so just x. And 1 times a negative 7 gives me a negative 7 equals 5 times 0 is 0. So now we got to solve for x. We need to get the variable by itself. The opposite of negative 7 is plus 7. So here's the addition property of equality, meaning we're doing it to both sides. So negative 7 plus 7 cancels out. We can bring our x down. And 0 plus 7 equals 7. This is our answer. Now you do need to turn in this along with your reflection. Take a picture of it and submit it. That way you could get a grade with it. If you have any questions, you know how to contact me. Talk to me later.